Alrighty, Dogg from Air Fans, back at it. I apologize for my long absence, especially after got so many new subscribers after my Pure Blood video. Really appreciate all you guys signing up, and I really dropped the ball on it. Continuing my video making streak. Basically, my wife and I are moving to Mexico, and that's what's going on. So you may remember a couch from recent videos. That's gone. We've sold everything. And we were supposed to have sold the house on December 12th. We were supposed to be leaving the country on December 16th then. But the sale fell through. We have a new buyer. Should be leaving early. Did I say December? Yeah, we were supposed to be leaving November 12th. Now we're going to be leaving like December 3rd, I think. So wish us luck with that. Of course, I've been super busy, and that's why I haven't been making YouTube videos. Been selling everything, packing everything, figuring out what to do with our belongings, etc. So a thing came up though. We had a buyer, and the reason that they couldn't buy our house was they couldn't get anybody to insure them for something I could afford, and so that just brings up another little topic I wanted to talk about in relation to today's video, and that's just that when the ruling party gets back into the government, they control the executive branch and as well as both houses. They just start passing all sorts of crazy things and destroying the middle class, destroying the family, etc. So housing rates are going, or the interest rates are nothing right now, which is crazy, and this is why everyone is apparently buying all these houses, but they're all getting locked into long story short, the housing bubble is not going to last another year or two, and they're all going to be underwater on all these mortgages. And in addition to that, they're all going to be paying exorbitant insurance rates for their homeowners insurance because the rates all went up this summer. So that's good to know. And so the topic of this video then is just it's going to be kind of off the cuff, still talking about the thing that's going on, of course. And I just wanted to say that what we're dealing with, everything here, time is not on our side, and that's the whole gist of today's spiel. So things appear to be cooling off here in the US of A. Our mask mandate was lifted in Louisiana. Even in New Orleans, their mask mandate was lifted. And some people might think that we're going out of this, but didn't that just happen this summer? And then we go back into a mask mandate for several months, and here we are again. So, if we're paying attention, we know that this can just happen on and off. And if you watch my recent video on mind control, you can see that this is part of the plan for how you basically discombobulate someone, break them down, and reduce their ability to make decisions effectively. And, to the point, the mask mandates have lifted, but the magic potion mandate remains in place. So this is what we're seeing. The mask mandates are somewhat coupled to reality, to the numbers, the case rates as we see. Case rates go up, masks go on. Case rates go down, masks come off, and yet the magic potion is not coupled to that whatsoever. The magic potion is just that's how we get out of this, folks. We just all have to get that magic potion, okay? And that just is telling right there. If you're not paying attention, please start. So, what we're really seeing with all of this is we're seeing the increasing divide between the right and the left, and that's sort of, I don't want to get people's hackles up when I use words like that, okay? When I use words like nationalism versus globalism, etc. I know not everyone's on the same page with what those mean, so I'm just going to say it's reality versus fantasy, okay? There's people who are looking at this stuff and just saying, hey, it doesn't add up, right? I can't put my finger on it, perhaps. I don't have the scientific background to really explain what's going on, but this doesn't make sense. And on the other hand, it just makes sense. We have to all do this. We have to obey. You know what I mean when I say those types of things. So we got reality on one hand, fantasy on the other. And so the one hand, people in the fantasy land, they're lost souls basically, right? But they're unified under some banner that they can't even express, other than just follow the science. And then on the other hand, splintered into countless factions, like so many Protestant churches are, the anti-whatever, the denialists, the hesitant, right? And that's, so the real question is, will that first group, will the lost souls be mobilized? Will that be enough? Like as we saw in Hitler's Germany, where only 35% of the population joined the National Socialist German Workers' Party, and that was enough for that group to come to power in that country. Will we see the same thing in the United States? Time will tell. So what's really going on in the whole thing that I can't say, a lot of people are going to heaven. More people went to heaven in 2020 and 2021 than we're supposed to, we're told. Okay, 700,000. And that's the euphemism, of course, you know what I'm talking about. So what's happening is the thing that's we're being told is making everyone go to heaven really isn't. And the thing that people are putting into their bodies to prevent them from going to heaven really is making a lot of people go to heaven, okay? And they are blaming that on the first thing. Does that make sense? That's a euphemism. I can't say what I really am talking about here. But we're into this idea that the problem is the people who aren't putting that thing in their body, okay? And this is what we're all talking about. Everyone who is going to heaven is going to heaven because they didn't put the thing into their body, okay? But the easy way to debunk that is to look at the demographics of people who went to heaven in 2020, and they were all over 65, right? No one in their 20s and 30s was going to heaven in vast numbers, okay? And that's what's happening now. We're seeing people in their 20s and 30s having problems with the ticker down here. Even younger and younger people having problems with their tickers, right? And we're seeing these billboards normalizing children having problems with their tickers. Oh, it's just always been that way. But why are we only hearing about it in the midst of this flying mammal-related problem that we're seeing? So a bigger issue with this, and this is hard for me to really unwrap because I'm not that much of a numbers guy. I'm going to put the link down below to Joseph Farrell's Giza Death Star blog so you can check it out and read it on your own. In his article, he's referring to another article that was written by an economics kind of guy. And so they're looking at sort of an obscure employment figure, and based on this employment figure, what they found is that there's 1.2 million missing people in the United States in 2021, okay? So, and we're all seeing the help wanted signs, we're all being turned away from business and things because they say we don't have people to work there. This is a problem that's affecting all of us. I'm sure everyone out there who's going to watch this has seen that, okay? And that we're just being told, well, it's the unemployment, right? It's because of the unemployment insurance, the CARES Act. People are being paid not to work, but the CARES Act expired, and this is still going on, as far as I can see. So what the heck? So to quote from that article now, he says, it's the annual run rate of non-institutional population, the non-institutional population over the last 12 months. Okay, so this is this term, okay, annual run rate of non-institutional population. That is the total number of not institutionalized people in the United States over the age of 16. The only ways to leave that count once you join it on your 16th birthday are to expatriate, leave the country permanently, go to prison, go into a nursing home, or die. Okay, so that's what this number is, and I guess it's not the total people in the workplace or workforce, because that can fluctuate based on you can voluntarily leave the workforce, right? This is just if you're eligible to work in theory. This is the number that is you're recorded under. Okay, so we're all a part of this unless we're expatriates, prisoners, nursing home patients, or dead, gone to heaven. So you take the total number of non-institutionalized people over 16 in June 2020 and subtract from that the total number of non-institutionalized people over 16 in September 2021, you get 1.2 million fewer people. Okay, there should be 1.2 million more potential workers, is what this number represents in the United States, than there actually are as of September of this year. Now that number is going to get adjusted in 2021, so it's a preliminary figure, but as it stands, that's pretty huge, because what we've been told is that the number of people who have gone to heaven because of the flying mammals is 700,000. So that's still they're actually, according to this figure, there's actually 500,000 or 500,000 more people who have gone to heaven than we're being told. So why would that be? That is very, very curious to this intrepid reporter. But that's not really what that's just a little example, of what we're seeing. I may be accused of downplaying the flying mammal thing, but I do not want to be, a lot of people then appear to be downplaying the overall effect that is happening. And I think this is what we're all about, the effect may be worse than the cause, right? Or something may be, multiplying the effect of the original cause of all of these people going to heaven, whatever that cause may be. Okay? So, now, that's the case, right? And we're only talking, that's only June, okay? That's from June of last year. So that's after the big spike in people going to heaven in March and April, right? Which was, I think, 30,000. So we're not even really talking about 700,000. We're really talking about 400,000 here, okay? So it gets even worse when we look at it that way. So a lot of people going to heaven for some reason, right? This is really happening. We are really in the midst of this. This is real. You can't make this up, okay? And people are just deluded about the whole thing. It's absolutely terrifying. And I don't know. I don't think I need to tell you why we're leaving, but that's why we're leaving. And now we're giving it to children, right? Now children are putting this thing into their body to prevent them from going to heaven. But they never went to heaven in the first place. There was never a risk for them to be prematurely called up to heaven. So regardless, they can now take that, okay? And as I said before, we're normalizing childhood vascular events. There's a new blood pressure medicine which is being approved for children, not authorized. There's a new hospital code for those types of events. And I'm using euphemisms, and a code is a hospital euphemism for the protocol that they go through, the specialists that come together to deal with a specific problem that a patient might have, specifically in like an emergency setting, right? So they have a new emergency protocol for how to deal with childhood vascular events just this year, just in time for this brand new reason that people are going to heaven, but it has nothing to do with that, of course. And to top it all off, we're now right around at the 9-month mark from when the people started putting the things into their bodies to prevent them from going to heaven. And how long does a baby take to grow inside its mommy's tummy? Well, 9 months. So we're beginning to see that. We're beginning to see how the thing that prevents the mommy and daddy from going to heaven, we're seeing how that's affecting the baby who has had that in its body inadvertently for that whole gestation period. So to recap then, the thing that's making everyone go to heaven really isn't. The thing that people are putting into their bodies to prevent them from going to heaven really is making a lot of people go to heaven. And it's terrifying. So where do we go from here besides Mexico? Okay, well, people aren't standing up. Newsflash: people aren't doing their due diligence here, including myself. You know, I definitely have mixed thoughts about leaving the country, but this is what's going on. People aren't standing up, and so they can keep doing this forever, and that appears to be what's happening. Okay, so you know, I think what we're going to see is they're going to keep going with the thing until it stops working, and that's their own decision. You know, that's their own internal metrics of whether or not it's working, right? And then as soon as it stops working, they'll just go to Plan B, which is World War III, right? And that's going to be really bad. So it's going to go from a cool war to a hot war, okay? And I'll make more videos on it later, but you can kind of get the gist of it there. Now the problem is we could be preparing for this. You know, this could end up being sort of a lemons into lemonade scenario, but right now they're cutting off the food supply, and not just the food supply, but the Christmas toys supply and all that's coming over from China, and it's stuck on boats. We're all hearing about this. You know, so they're gonna starve us out and demoralize us and keep us from organizing. Keep the right, as I had mentioned, fractured, splintered into all these different groups, right? And this, I hate to say it, but this really supports in my mind the notion that some people have put forward of the audit, the 2020 presidential election audit, as a kind of putting out a false hope scenario to keep the right focused on something that's just never going to happen. And we've seen that. I mean, I watched it. You know, I watched that live. I saw the evidence was damning, and it just doesn't matter. You know, Ron Paul's up there, or whoever is up there, Rand Paul, whatever those guys' names are, Macho Man, Randy Savage. They're all up there doing the right thing, but it just doesn't matter, right? It just doesn't seem to matter. So I don't want to be a doom and gloomer kind of guy, but kind of is a doom and gloom scenario right now, okay? Preppers, speaking about doom and gloom, right? I've said before some things I dislike about preppers, and you know, here we are. This is another thing where, you know, I think the prepper lifestyle is being popularized as another sort of a false hope. You know, I really think they're fine with you going out and being on your own, because the point is you're on your own. You know, that's the point. If you want to prep, you want to start a homestead, start your homestead on the Capitol Mall. Okay, that's where you should be. Let's see somebody growing beets right there in front of Abraham Lincoln. All right, that's the way. That's the place to be. And anywhere else, you're just fooling yourself, friends. Okay, get together, find something you can agree with. You know, find some common ground. And I'm saying specifically the right, because the left, they're off. You know, they're following Moloch, right? They're literally, well, they're preventing their children from going to heaven in their idea, right? Their mind. But yeah, so, you know, preppers, we're all on the right here speaking. We're all fractured. We all have a different idea about what's the most important thing, whether it's the audits, or whether it's people going to heaven prematurely, or whether it's Hollywood executives wearing shoes made out of Heather O'Rourke's skin. Or just prepping in general. You know, we're all in our own separate little bubbles, right? And we can't get together, and that's by design. We need to come together. We need to look at the big picture. Okay, this is why I'm making this video again. So the good news, I think, out of all this is we might have more time than we think, because everything seems to go according to their plan, the bad guys' plan, and the bad guys are on a very long time scale. Okay, so let me think. I played a lot of Civ 5 this week. Had a lot of fun. I played a lot of strategy games in my life. You know, I'm not a hardcore gamer, but strategy games are what I'm into. And you know what I've learned from playing strategy games is you have to, from the very beginning, the very moment you start playing, you have to visualize yourself winning. How am I going to defeat your opponent? How am I going to defeat my opponent? And then do it, okay? You visualize that last moment, that final triumph, and then you work backwards from there, and that's how you win in a strategy game, okay? So imagine you got two people playing a strategy game like Civ 5. And so civilization is, you start from an ancient civilization and you build yourself up. You build technologies, you build an army, you found new cities and things like that. So imagine there's two types of people, and one type of person is saying, I just want to build a beautiful civilization. I just want to have all the roads and everything be cute. And the other person says, I just want to rule the world. Okay? And you have both of those people playing a game. Which one do you think is going to win? Okay? But if the first person, the one who just wants everything to be pretty, if he goes to the person and says, hey, I just want everything to be pretty, the other guy's going to say, okay, you do that, right? And it's going to go like that. He's going to be pretty, and he's going to have very pretty roads, infrastructure, happiness, everything's going to be great. And then turn 60,000, because that's how long Civ lasts for. A bunch of elephants show up on his frontier, and he's toast, right? So this is where we're at. It's gonna we might have a lot longer than we think, but all we're they're using that time. They're putting that time to good use, and I question whether we are. That's the thing, okay? So make good use of your time, and forget about the idea of going off into the woods and doing your own thing, okay? We need to be doing this right now. Right now is when this needs to happen. So make that of you will. Make of that what you will. Okay. And finally, and speaking of the winged mammal thing specifically, okay, I want to talk about children putting things on their faces, okay? You know what I mean. Imagine you're a newborn baby, and imagine never seeing faces. All right? And I've talked about the 21-point IQ drop that's been detected, that's been measured in infants during this thing. All right? A little bit older, imagine you're 3 to 4 years old, and you're going to preschool. Imagine seeing a face, an uncovered face, and thinking, that's wrong, or that's bad, or that person is bad. Imagine thinking that. Imagine believing that as a little person. Okay? Imagine getting older and associating the human face with evil, with badness, right? And now imagine what's going to happen to these children in 20 years. You following me here? So now go back and read what happened to the Germans after World War I. And then read about what happened to the Germans 20 years later in World War II. The build up to World War II. And I think you'll see that we're basically, these children could very well end up being the perfect stormtroopers in 20 years. It could even be that that's the reason that this is all happening. Or, again, there's many reasons for all this happening, but one of the primary reasons could be to raise the next generation of stormtroopers that will do what they're told. Now, I don't know, maybe they'll rebel. Maybe they'll look, maybe in 5 years we'll find out it was all fraud, and they will look back and just, feel terribly towards their parents who didn't stand up. I hope that's the scenario. That's a more hopeful scenario, I would argue. But we'll see. Now, one thing that's really interesting, and I guarantee you're not going to hear about this anywhere else, but imagine what's going to happen to these kids who spent their whole formative years wearing things on their faces, being told that that's the right way to do things. There's this invisible menace that if you don't, you'll die, and you might even, without even realizing it, spread it to grandma, right? And so everyone who doesn't comply with this thing, this practice of putting the thing on your face, is evil and wrong and bad and scary, right? Imagine what that is going to happen when they get to their teenage years and those hormones start to kick in and they start to get a little rebellious, right? We're going to see a massive uptick in like I don't know what the word is, but a dirt fetish, a filth fetish, right? We're going to be so, after that amount of time being wrapped up in really a nonsensical obsession with hygiene, which that's arguable. What we're doing, none of it makes sense. Some countries it does. The way that they're dealing with this in other countries does make a little bit more sense. Like they're being told to wash their hands and eat clean vegetables and things like that. Healthy food. We're just totally not here in America. It's all put the thing on your face and then put the thing in your body, right? That's all we're being told. So it's not really, maybe I'm arguing against myself, but imagine your whole young childhood up into adolescence, you're being told to keep something on your face, and now you get some extra testosterone and you want to, sow your wild oats, right? You can just see this whole generation taking their masks off, and I mean, oops, I said the M word, but anyway, taking the thing off their face and spitting in each other's faces and, liking that, coughing in each other's faces. It sounds ridiculous, but mark my words, we're going to see this. We're going to see this, 10 or 12 years from now is when it's going to start. Okay, and then the final point is Facebook rebranding itself as Meta and refocusing itself on virtual reality. Okay, is this really new, or is this not just what Facebook has been doing all along, right? Have they not just been trying to create a more fun version of real life gossip? Okay. Then we got the Amazon with delivering things by drones, right? Zoom meetings. And none of this would have been very popular without us all being terrified of going to heaven and being locked in our homes, voluntarily locking ourselves in our homes in many cases. And so this is specifically a strategy concocted by a group known as the Fabian Society, and I've talked about these guys before. I'll talk about them again, but so here's the gist of it. Karl Marx, the guy who came up with the idea we call communism, he believed that communism was inevitable. Okay, he thought it was just a superior inevitability that would arise naturally from capitalism. Okay, he just thought it was better. The workers would say, hey, we don't need these capitalists, and we'll just rise up and take over our, and so that was the first 7 years or so, the first 8 or 10 or so failed revolutions, right? The communist revolutions. That was the theory underpinning them, and what happened is workers didn't really like that. Turns out, even when they didn't have the best of lives and everything, the best of situations, they preferred to be part of a society where they had traditions and where they had customs, and they could celebrate, they could be their own people, they could they could love things, they could have families, no matter how we might look at them and say, well, that's not very much. You'd be much better owning nothing and being happy, right? They didn't like that. So the Fabian, it wasn't a good motivation. Just to cap that off, communism didn't provide a good motivation structure for workers, so it didn't work. Didn't ever get off the ground. And so Fabian Society realized that, and they saw, well, what we have to do is we have to destroy everything that they love, and then they'll go for the communism, right? And so they started infiltrating the churches, infiltrating the schools, infiltrating trade guilds and fraternal organizations, clubs, social clubs, and they basically destroyed them from the inside out. And now, 1 or 2 generations later, then they brought in full-scale communism in several different parts of the world. A few of them which have persisted to today, but that's another story. So, anyway, what we're seeing is we use this threat of prematurely going to heaven, and that gets people so out of their minds that they want to go to the cafe and talk to their friends, but they don't. They're too scared, right? So they want to go to the store and buy something, but they're too scared. So, they stay at home and they, watch YouTube videos, and they order things off of Amazon, right? And they say, okay, well, this is okay. And then they forget what the old world was like, okay? So, I mean, this can go along. This can go on. I hope you're seeing this. This can go on as long as you let them. All right. There is no time constraint on their side of the equation, right? They're playing the long game. Every generation that gets born into this gets more and more depraved. Every generation of parents that doesn't take their children out of the system, their children get more and more depraved. So I don't want to be a total doom and gloomer about this, because there are some silver linings. There are, especially in that instance, we've seen a lot of people take their children out of homeschooling. I hope that continues. It can't be any worse. I mean, goodness sakes. But that's what this video is about. Time is not on our side, people. Get out there, get on the streets, and get organized now. Do it. Whatever you're going to do it. This has been Evan Benton of Dogg for Mayor. Please share this video and comment down below. And if you have any other topics you'd like me to talk about or do some research on, I'd be happy to. So just leave those in the comments below. Like, share, and thanks to everyone again who subscribed after that last video. Hope to keep you informed and entertained as I move forward on my life journey. And support the channel if you can in any way. We're going to make some good money selling our house. We're going to be able to live off that for a little bit. But if you could find it in your hearts to support us, that would really, guarantee that we'd be able to put out a lot better content and not have to worry about where the bread's coming from. All right. This has been Evan Benton of Dogg for Mayor. Thank you, and have a good night.